Welcome, everyone. Sorry, we were having a few technical difficulties in the beginning, but looks like everyone's kind of getting in now. So, welcome to basically what we have the last session in the dental school workshop week with Leland. So, uh, pleasure to have you all. I'm super excited. My name's Nick Sharp. Um, and today we'll be talking about what it takes to get into your dream dental school. And so the layout of this session really is to introduce who I am and why it is that I'm even qualified to talk about getting into your dream school. We'll do an overview of what this whole session is about, and then go into the specifics of really what it takes to get into your dream dental school. So let's just start with introductions. So nice to meet you all again. My name's Nick Sharp. I'm a second year student at HSDM, otherwise known as the Harvard School of Dental Medicine. And so I've been here for about 2 years, and I applied about 3 years ago, I guess that is. So it wasn't so long ago when I was in your shoes, kind of figuring out um, what it takes to get into your dream dental school. And really what I want this session to be about is just for you guys to relax. Don't feel compelled to turn your cameras on. Just kind of hear what I have to say. This is just one perspective on what it takes to get into your dream dental school. I really hope you all gain something out of this session. That's my goal for you to take at least one thing out of this session, and we will leave time for plenty of questions at the end. So let's just dive into it with an overview of what we're going to be talking about. So the way that I really think about getting into your dream dental school is in sort of this pyramid type of approach where we start from the bottom of how do we get from why do we want to go to dental school all the way to the top, to getting into our dream dental school. And there's each layer builds on the previous layer. And it really all starts out with, as cheesy as it is to say, a solid foundation as to why you want to go to dental school. If you can figure out the why, it'll inform you of how to build your application around that. And then from there, it just gets easier of telling your story, just basically reciting what you did along the application process. And if you do all of these things in a good enough way and with a little bit of luck, I'm confident that any one of you here can land in your dream dental school. So let's kind of dive into the why. So this is gonna, we can go to the next slide. Yeah, thank you, Amanda. Why do you want to go to dental school? I speak with students all the time about why they want to get into dental school. And a lot of them tell me, I want to help patients, or I like to work with my hands, or I want to be my own boss, or any other reason you can really imagine. But if you think a little bit more deeply about these statements, they don't actually answer the question as to why you want to go to dental school. Because in theory, you could help patients out in any way, or you could work with your hands in any way, or be your own boss in any way. And so when you want to go to dental school, you have to figure out a really good reason of why you want to do that. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy, right? Like it doesn't have to be some, crazy story you had of like a dentist transforming your life. It doesn't have to be that. It can be simple, but it has to be a good enough reason. It has to serve as a really good foundation. And one thing that I like to think about is actually why you don't want to do other things outside of dental school. So if we take a look at this image I have here, it's like you start with something that you don't like, and then you go to something else you don't like, and then you find something else still boring, and then you find something else that you're just starting to question of like, does this even get any better? Is this just how life is? And then you finally find dentistry, which you think to yourself, okay, this could be fun, or I could see myself doing this. So again, building a solid foundation here is going to be like the key to building a good application, to conveying yourself to people, and to landing into your dream school. So we can go to the next slide here, where I understand that there's 115 of us here. This doesn't apply to everyone. We'll see later on in my journey how like this kind of framework that I think about applies to me. But I totally understand that you might not have this sequence of, like failures in which you didn't like this thing, didn't like that thing, and then finally you landed on dentistry. Maybe some of you here have, a parent who has their own practice. Maybe some of you, were deeply impacted by an oral surgeon or an orthodontist who like completely transformed your smile. Or maybe you're just really artistic and you really like science, and dentistry is just something that really speaks to you. It doesn't have to be a profound reason, and it doesn't have to be this long journey, but it has to be a solid foundation. And I like to kind of compare this to a house in a couple of different ways, right? Like you wouldn't start with building the windows, or you wouldn't start with just like having a door, right? You would start with like the structure of it and then build things on top of that house to make it a complete house, a house that you would want to live in. And that's essentially what applying to dental school is. We have to build a really solid foundation. And I know I'm saying this so many times, it's kind of like annoying to say foundation so many times, but that's honestly the key, is to identifying like the reason why you want to be a dentist. And we'll see how this applies in later slides. So the next part of this is doing these things that support our foundation, or build on top of the foundation. And here's a bunch of different areas that you'll find when you go to apply to dental school. Maybe you already have, or maybe you're in the process now of thinking about how to craft an application. And you're going to encounter all of these different aspects. You're going to encounter academics, shadowing, volunteering, leadership, research, professional experience. I like to think of these as not like just requirements. Yes, there's some of them that are requirements, and I'll talk about those requirements. But really what they are is they're a way for you to show that you're setting yourself apart from the pack. It's a way that when an admissions panel is talking about you, they're going to say, oh, that was the guy that likes to work on cars, or that was the person that has this unique characteristic about them. It isn't just about doing things for the sake of doing things because that's what you feel like you need to do, or that's what you've heard other people have done before and that's gotten them into their dream school. It's really about doing the things that you like to do. And I know that's cheesy, and I used to absolutely hate when people were like, just follow your passion and everything will be fine. But as we'll see later on, like that's kind of just what it's about. And there's a reason that people continue to say that, because the successful people that tell you that have just done that, and that's kind of the truth. But I realize that there's like requirements that you need to check off. So when we start with academics, there's a GPA, right? You have to have, I would say that you guys have to have probably at least the average GPA and the average DAT that the school that you want to go to has. Unfortunately, one of the things that you have to do is be academically skilled. Dental students want to see, or dental schools want to see that their students are going to, actually go through the curriculum and be successful. But even in doing that, there isn't just one way to do it. I mentioned earlier that I was a biochem major. I happen to like biochem, contrary to like a lot of other people here probably. But there's people here that I know that are history majors, that are math majors, that are exercise science majors. So there's a ton of ways, even just in academics, to set yourself apart and to show schools that while you want to do dentistry, you're a very unique person that has lots of interest outside of dentistry. And the same thing can be applied to shadowing. Yes, there's a certain requirement that you have. Maybe it's 100 hours, or maybe it's 150 hours. And yes, you should be doing most of that in like a general practice, because again, you're going to dental school, and dental schools want to see that you want to be a dentist first and foremost. However, there's still a ton of ways to set yourself apart. Maybe you like a certain patient population, right? Maybe you like pediatrics, or maybe you like veterans, or maybe you like geriatric care. There's all different types of specialties that you can explore. And again, these are ways to set yourself apart and show dental schools that you have these varying interests that make you a complete applicant, rather than just an applicant who's just simply checking off boxes. And then the same applies to volunteering, leadership, research, professional experience. Do you have to do these? With the exception of research and even professional experience, yes, you have to volunteer and you have to show that you're a leader. Dentists, first and foremost, care about their community, and they're leaders of a team. And so you have to do things that are going to show dental schools that you care about your community and you can effectively lead a team. But in doing so, there's a ton of nuance there. There's a ton of ways to set yourself apart. And I'll talk a little bit later about the volunteering and leadership that I had that I think set myself apart. When it comes to research, I personally didn't do research. You can do it if you like to do it, but again, you shouldn't do it if you feel like you need to do it. If you're not interested or that passionate about research, then you simply shouldn't do it. It will always help an application, but don't devote your limited time to doing something that you don't like to do because that'll come through in your interviews when you speak on your experiences. Again, it's doing things not simply as requirements, but things that are going to differentiate yourself and showing that you're a unique person who's also capable of doing all these things that a dentist will do. So, just one quick word about comparison. And I fell into this trap like a ton of times as I was studying for the DAT or as I was applying. I see they're so toxic. They're so toxic. They can be great resources if, like, let's say you're preparing for interviews and you want to see common interview questions that are asked. You can hop on SDN or hop on Reddit and there's some really good like resources out there that'll tell you, oh, I was asked this and this question by HSDM. But if you're going to these resources to like, figure out that, see how good enough you are in the applicant pool and to see if you're going to get into your dream school, that's simply not going to help. You're going to find yourself so sad. You're going to find yourself with like Ben and Jerry's ice cream, like watching a sad movie because it isn't fun to read this stuff online. And no matter what anyone says on the internet, there's plenty of ways to be successful, and there's no single format of how to do it. So I just like to have this because I like to reassure people that whatever these websites say is not the end all be all. And honestly, it's a bit better to stay off of them if you can. And so the next part in the pyramid, so just to recap, we've built our foundation, right, of why we want to go to dental school. We've started to do all of these things that we need on an application to show dental schools why we're interested in being a dentist and all of the different ways in which we can, show our skills and how they align with dentistry. And the last part is actually the easiest part. And I know it gives all of you guys a bunch of stress, and it gave me a ton of stress. But really, it's just about recapping all of the things that you did before, right? If you have a solid reason of why you want to go to dental school, if you have a solid application built around those foundations, then telling your story is simply as easily as just reciting what you did. And these are all just different ways in which we do that. So there's the personal statement, right? And the personal statement is designed for you to ask or answer, rather, a simple question, which is why do you want to go to dental school or why do you want to be a dentist? And there's a ton of ways you can do that. You can have a whole 10-page paper outlining all the different reasons why and all the different things you've done to show that you're going to be a good dentist. But you only get so many characters. And so if you want to craft a really good personal statement, and I know we just had a session on personal statements, what I think it comes down to is what stands out to you along your journey as like the poignant thing of like why you want to be a dentist. And it's going back to the foundation and picking out the most key components of your application that convey why you would be a great applicant at or you would be a great student rather at a dental school and why you'd be a really great dentist. And again, that's simply as easy as going back and just seeing the things that we did beforehand. When it comes to supplemental apps, we take that just one step further. So now if school's asking you, well, what is it about this school that makes you, want to become a dentist by getting education from us? And so there's a couple of different ways that you can go about this, and we'll talk about some of them and how that applies to my journey at the end. But really what it comes down to is just aligning the school's vision with your vision. And again, that should be pretty easy if you have like a good reason why you want to be a dentist. And in theory, your dream school would have a vision that aligns with the way that you see yourself practicing in the future. And again, we'll talk a little bit about what that means more specifically. And then interviews are kind of just like show and tell from elementary school. You show up either in person or on Zoom, you make a great impression, and you just kind of provide evidence of why you would make a really good student and a really good dentist. So a little bit more on interviews. All interviews have two essential questions that I personally think are the most key when it comes to admissions panels deciding on what students they're going to let in. It comes down to number one, why you want to be a dentist, the foundation question that we were talking about before, and then why do you want to be a dentist at our school? And the way to go about these interviews is to make a really good impression, right? Be yourself, be you, don't be anyone that you're not, and provide your evidence showing why you want to be a dentist and how the school's vision aligns with your vision. And interviews, honestly, they're extremely stressful. I went on plenty of interviews and they're extremely stressful. But if you have a solid foundation of why you want to do the things you want to do, these questions can actually be very easy and you can have a great conversation with faculty. But it all comes down to making sure that you have that solid foundation. So the last thing that we're going to do here is we're going to look at my journey and how my philosophy sort of aligns with the things that I've done in life to get to this point. So this is kind of a wild slide. Look at it as a board game. So I have like a start here and an end here. And if you kind of remember my initial image that I showed in the why dentistry slide, maybe it was a little bit after that. It was this like kind of map where dentistry is at the end. This is essentially that map, but like for me, and filled out with the things that I like to do and the things that I don't like to do. So let's play the game. Let's start here. I so to tell you a little bit more about myself, I'm from the suburbs of Philly. If you guys know Lancaster, some people say Lancaster. It's out in the Amish country. First generation student. Nobody in my family went into medicine, and so I was a smart kid in high school. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to uh, do something that nobody in my family had done before. So I said, let's go to Temple. Let's move out of the cornfields and let's go to the city. And so I went to Temple as an accounting major, actually. And many of you, hopefully, if you're not all in business, hopefully you would agree that accounting it can be boring. And so I lasted about a whole 3 months in accounting. I was just like, this isn't for me. This isn't academically isn't challenging enough. I really just couldn't care less about this stuff. And so second semester, I transferred from the business school over to the College of Science and Technology. And I had done a lot of chemistry classes and stuff in high school. So I was like, chemistry could be the thing. Let's do chemistry. And I did a couple things here. I joined the Temple Chemistry Club, and that taught me a lot about really what it is I like to do with people. And taught me that I love teaching, I love conveying uh, what it is that I know and how I can help people, kind of like what I'm doing with you guys. It really brings me a lot of energy, and I just love people succeeding. Um, Simply because I had a tremendous amount of help along the way, and so I found that as one of my passions. I also did a lot of work with kids in North Philadelphia elementary schools. There's a huge shortage of science and education in that area, and so we filled a critical gap. We would go into the schools and we would do experiments with kids and teach them about science. And I just thought that, wow, I love being with people. I love helping them see things that they hadn't seen before and just feeling confident and being passionate about the things that they care about or the things they didn't know they cared about. And then what I also did was after my freshman year, I had an internship at a chemical manufacturing type of plant. They made disinfectants and stuff. That's the VAI symbol that you see there. And I really liked working with my hands. I really liked being with a team. It was a small group. It was probably about a 6, 7 person department. And it was very fun, but I could not stand like the times in lab when I was just like by myself testing products and stuff and had like no one to talk to. I just thought that there was something more for me when it came to, science and when it came to helping people. And so, as like a lot of people do, they're like, oh, medicine's great. Let's think about, a career in medicine. So I switched from chemistry to biochem just because it was a little bit more biologically focused. And I thought that if I really wanted to do medicine, I should probably like bio. And, I thought that biochem was like the next best thing. And from there, I started shadowing a lot. My mom worked for a doctor growing up, so I was very familiar with like outpatient primary care stuff. So I shadowed there. I shadowed a podiatrist, and then I eventually shadowed a couple dentists and some dental specialists. And I really just saw my skills and the passion for communicating with people and improving their lives aligning with dentistry more so than any of the other specialties. And so there and then I built my foundation. I said, all right, this is what I'm going to do. Let's go to dental school, and these are the reasons why. And from there, it's just a matter of doing what you like to do. It really is as simple as that, and letting your own uniqueness shine through. And so, a few of the things that I did, I stuck with the chemistry club. I loved, teaching people chemistry. I did a lot of tutoring with the chemistry club, and also Temple had a few programs of teaching student athletes, teaching my peers, and I had a couple paid and volunteer teaching positions, and I just absolutely loved talking with people and helping to make their days and their lives a little bit better by through education, and I liked making it fun. So I was a teaching assistant, and then I also showed that I care about my community. I worked at a food bank for about 1 to 2 years. I loved being outside. I got to plant crops and harvest crops and deliver them out to the community, and I just thought that was super fun. And it was a time. It was around COVID when I started doing that, so it was a great way to just get outside and be with people. Um, and then, I did well in the DAT. I had a job. If anyone's from the East Coast or maybe like Middle East Coast, you probably have heard hers. It's a potato chip manufacturing company. So I needed a job throughout COVID, and I actually got forklift certified, and I was like a weekend warehouse person at hers. I just like that as a fun fact. I think it's funny. So I did that, not particularly because I was passionate about it, but because just to show that I'm a hard worker, and when times get tough, you got to do what you got to do. And then I took a gap year too. So I'm one of the students that took a gap year here. There's not too many actually at HSDM, but I took a gap year and I worked as an assistant. I really thought that before coming to dental school, I just really wanted to like be in a practice full time. And I really wanted to just take x-rays and talk with patients. And so I took a job in endo, and I loved it. I got to do so many things. It was a really busy practice. We saw a lot of patients, but took a lot of patients out of pain. And that just really convinced me that I wanted to go to dental school. And after that, I just told my story. I wrote my personal statement based off of just a patient interaction I had while shadowing. Um, Going back to the point of when you're writing your personal statement, just think about those things that really stick out and that are really telling to your story. And then there's, of course, there's a bit of luck involved. But I told my story to the best of my ability, and now I'm at HSDM. So the next part of this, so I hope, just to take a minute, I hope that that kind of showed you my philosophy. I know it's a little chaotic, but I hope that that showed you my philosophy of building a solid foundation and helping, having that foundation help you inform what you're going to do to show dental schools that you're interested in dentistry, and that check off all the boxes when it comes to satisfying the different requirements that there are in the way that that best suits you. um, and ultimately how, if you just tell your story effectively, that that can land you in your dream school. So talking about dream school, why HSDM for me? I thought that this would be helpful to kind of put this in the slide deck, just as a way to show you how you can align your vision with the dream school that you have. Just as a moment, I never really ever considered that I would land at HSDM. I mean, I had pretty decent stats. I thought my application was strong, but like there's 35 spots here. And I was like, surely no like first gen kid from Amish country is gonna ever, land at HSDM. But I did. And what I told them I liked about HSDM was that I thought it was a place that encouraged exploration. Um, some people look at dentistry as, kind of like this drill and fill specialty, and other people look at it as, just a part of the body, and it's a medical profession, and that's what I think it is. And so I wanted a school that treated dentistry like that and was cutting edge and encouraged exploration. So we have a med school curriculum here the first year, which I really wanted to try out because I was super interested in the body and all of the ways in which the body could connect to dentistry. There's a mandatory research project here, and there's specialty rotations. So these are all ways that really get us as dental students to explore all there is to explore about dentistry. I worked in endo, so I was really interested in potentially specializing in endo, and we have a really high specialty match rate here at HSDM. Uh, this doesn't have to be a part of your dream school, but that was just important to me. And then we have a super small class size. I think we're the smallest in the country. And I wouldn't just say that we're non-competitive. I would actually say that we're like uncompetitive. Like we go the extra distance to like make things less competitive, like negatively competitive. It's kind of crazy how close everyone is here. So I asked myself like along the application journey of like, are these reasons even good enough? Am I just like copying and pasting what the HSDM website has to offer? And what I found is like that's exactly what they want you to do. Like they want you to align your vision with how you want to practice, the type of provider you want to be with what they offer. And that involves looking at the website. What's their mission statement? That involves talking to the students, talking to graduates, saying how they, what type of experience they had at HSDM, and then conveying that to faculty in interviews, reaching out to faculty and making your name known to them. Yeah, so just to answer the question of like, are these reasons even good enough? They definitely are, and they show a demonstrated interest. And it doesn't have to be some crazy compelling story. It can be as simple as, hey, I think you guys align with my vision, and here's why. So with that said, you can go to the next slide. Thank you. With that said, I just wanted to take a minute to tell you all, like with a lot of hard work, a tremendous amount of work, the right support, I truly think that any of you here can get into your dream school. Never did I think I was going to be here, but I'm here to say it's very achievable. I hope that you guys took something away from this. That was my goal. But now I will open it up to any questions that we have for the remainder of the time. So thank you guys. Um, all right, so we have lots of questions in the chat. Let's see. So tell your stats. Um, I actually, oh wait, we have a hand. I'll do hands first. Is it Karuna?
Hi. Hi, Nick.
Hello.
I am an international dentist from India, and I had my own clinic back in my home country, and I practiced there for around 8 long years. I've recently moved to the States, and I am planning to apply to HSDM. Um, I have a good GPA. I am into community services and things like that. But what I really need you to tell me is that what are my stats? In getting into HSDM, it's my dream school, and what all do I need to do before I apply there, and anything specific that you would advise being a student there that would help me.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you being bold and speaking up in the large crowd we have here. I know that when it comes to the international application, things are a little bit different, and I know it's quite selective for the international applicant pool. I think we have two for our year. But they're amazing people. They're extremely passionate about dentistry. When it comes to stats, I'm not totally sure, to be honest with you, how that works for the international pool of applicants. But I will tell you, I think the thing that's very in common with all of the ones that I've met is that they are deeply interested in what they do. They truly care, and they have the experience to show that. And they do tend to have more of a research focus as well. So if you have research, that tends to go a long way. If you don't, that's not to say that, you know, you're never going to be able to get into HSDM. But what I think it comes down to is really conveying in that interview that you're passionate about dentistry, that your ideas align with HSDM's mission, and I think that will go a long way for you. Did I answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Um, One more thing. Do you think it's logical to apply to HSDM just because my stats are low, or should I focus on some other schools that are more acceptable to the towards the international students?
I would say that, and even as just a broad takeaway for everyone here, if you are scared to apply because your GPA or your DAT or whatever test is low, I know plenty of students here that, that don't have the average, right? I mean, if you have an average, just think about it. You have to have some people that are below and some people that are above. And so just because you don't have the stats, uh, that doesn't mean that you're not going to get in. I think if you make a really compelling argument as to why you should be at your dream school, I think that can go a long way, if not longer than just your stats alone.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. That's really
Yes.
helpful.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you. Uh, is it Parmita?
Yes, hello, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much. So, thanks for tonight's session. So I have a question. Regarding the personal statement, I usually hear like contradictory things. So, like, I had someone who got into dental school, and they told me that you shouldn't be writing about like serving the underserved because that's what everyone writes. So it's kind of repetitive. So, and it's like that's what everyone writes. And then I removed that, and I showed this to someone else who got into dental school, and she was like, I in my own personal statement, I did write that I'm gonna serve the underserved, and you should be writing it too. So I got like two contradictory things. Uh, I wonder if you have like kind of like general advice for the personal statement and what the red flags are. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I think that the biggest thing that you should do in a personal statement is provide evidence. And I think any any argument that you make, right? It can be anything. Like serving the underserved is not, it is a great thing to want to do that. But you can't just make a statement without showing that you've actually gone through the effort to try to do that. And so if that is why you want to go into dentistry, right? You want to help I mean, there's a huge underserved population both here in the States and abroad. It really just comes down to providing that evidence that shows that you've actually tried to do these things before, either through dentistry or not through dentistry, and why you want to continue that at a certain school. But in general, there's no uh, one or no multiple reasons that you have to have in order to get into a certain or to write a certain personal statement. Anything will be good, so long as it's actually dentally focused. Anything will be good so long as you have the evidence to sort of back that up.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome. Let's go to Andrea next.
Hi, Nick. How many
Hello.
schools should we typically aim to apply for?
I think it totally depends on um, your application and how strong it is. Personally, I was paying for all of my applications, and so I wanted to keep it. I actually had like a certain dollar amount when I applied, so I applied to about 6 schools, but I had a few of them that I was very, very confident that I could get into. So that was about like two or three of them, and then I had about another two or three of them that I thought were like a little bit of a long shot or just wasn't too sure about. Don't go overboard. It's a really expensive process. And to be honest, you're not going to be interested in all, let's say, 25 schools that you apply to. I would keep it anywhere in between like the 5, 15, 20 range. Other than that, there's like too many interviews, too many things you have to write. And honestly, you're just spending too much money and you're not even interested in all the schools anyways. So, but have that solid mix of schools that you're really confident you can get into and schools that are a little bit of a long shot. But there's no hard and fast number. But I do encourage people not to go super overboard because it can be so expensive and such, just a hassle to have to go through all the interviews and all of the supplemental apps. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Is it Nida?
Hi, it's Nada.
Nada. Nice to meet you, Nada.
So I have a question. So I am a dental assistant. I'm a dental assistant with expanded functions. I have the NITRI certificate and the polishing and sealant. So I'm very hands-on with the patients. I've been an assistant for about 3 years, and I've worked in 2 different clinics. Do you recommend to have like each doctor to write a letter of recommendation, or is it just like one doctor and like a professor?
So yeah, great question. There's a limit to how many recs you can have. I'm not sure if they've changed it, but I believe I submitted 5, and there's a certain requirement of like dental providers to professors. You want to make sure that you have a couple of science professors if you can. Like I said, one of the first and foremost things that dental schools consider, excuse me, is academics. And if they want students that are going to be able to get through their program. And so if you have one or two, I think it's about 2 science professors or one science and one non-science professor, that will go a long way in convincing schools that like you have, academically what it takes to get through the program. Other than that, try the more letters of rec you have, the better. You definitely want to get dental providers. So, the ones that you're closest to in the practice that you work at now. I mean, you also want to get people, if you've done any volunteering or anything in the community, you want to make sure that those people are also speaking upon your behalf. So really all those different avenues that I talked about earlier, like the academics, volunteering, leadership would also be huge. And then some from like a dental provider,
Mhm.
that would be good.
Okay. And then another question that I have, do you get to like once you're applying for dental schools, can you like reach out to them and do they do like a tour of their clinic, or is that something schools don't do anymore?
Yeah, usually if you do have like interviews in person, they'll usually take you through their whole building and through their whole clinic and kind of show you what they have in their school. But I don't know if you can just schedule one without an interview.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a nice night.
Yes, you're welcome. You too. Bye-bye. Samira?
Yes, hi. Thank you
Hello.
so much for the opportunity. This means a lot. I have 2 questions. My first question is regarding the shadowing hours. I do not have any shadowing hours. However, I am a dental assistant and I have the experience over 7 years. So, is that something that can be okay for dental school application, not having the shadowing hours, but instead have the 7 years of work experience? And
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Second question, I'm a non-traditional applicant and I've stored all my letters of recommendation and the website Enterfolio because I've graduated back in 2021. And I was told that when I ask my professors or doctors, just have them not sign, not date actually, have them sign but not date the letter of recommendations in order to use it for future purposes or future
Like future
applications.
applications.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I have done that, and I applied this last cycle, and I still haven't heard anything from any dental schools. I'm kind of worried, and I think that maybe that's one of the reasons that they probably didn't, reached out. Maybe that's something wrong. Maybe that's a red flag that it should have a date. So I'm confused because some other friends said otherwise that there has to be a date.
I see. Yeah. In general, I would, in regards to your last point there about letters of rec, I would always try to get the most updated version of that. I know it can be such a hassle to, go back and contact people that you haven't talked to for years. But I would encourage you to just make sure that whoever's supporting your application is still wanting to support your application. I can't speak as to whether that was, a reason you haven't heard back. But to your first point, shadowing experience. Yeah, if you have 7 years of work experience with all of this, or let's call it clinical experience, right? Whether it's shadowing or paid, it's clinical experience you have in a dental office that, you don't need to go back and like shadow just to prove that you have the shadowing hours when you do in fact have the clinical hours.
Thank you so much. That answered my
Yes.
questions. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Liam?
Yeah, hi, thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so how crucial is applying in that opening, like first week of like June? Because I'm currently in school right now and haven't taken the DAT yet and was planning to take it in July, which I guess would mean like an August submission once the test results come back. And with like HSDM with like a small class size, how is that just like a big no or?
Yeah, so as far as the application when you want to get it in, obviously the earlier the better. I would say that if you have it any later than like August, that is when things start to get a little bit questionable because around August is when student or schools start to send out interviews. And so you want to make sure that you're in that like I think for me it opened in May. I'm not sure if it opens in May still or if it doesn't. Um, but you want to make sure you're in those early months, if not the earliest you can possibly get it in. But for me, I remember I didn't submit until like mid-June, just because I really wanted to take time to like make sure everything was perfect, and I only wanted to do it once, and so I submitted it then. I don't think it really had an impact on anything. As far as taking the DAT, yes, you can apply before you actually have your DAT score. Schools might be hesitant to like you know, accept you or give you an interview until they get confirmation of what your DAT score actually is, depending on how your overall application looks. But you can submit an app and then wait until your DAT score comes back.
Okay, so then it doesn't like finalize it, but they know that you're in or in the system, I guess.
Yes, yeah. When you're actually filling out your application, there's a portion of it in which you can actually say, I'm like currently studying for / taking the DAT within this cycle. So it'll let the schools know.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Parmita?
Hello, hi again. So I wonder how weird it is to like contact the school and ask for feedback. Like, is it like too weird or is it like a common thing? And if it is, like, when is a good time to contact them and ask for help?
So the way that it's happened in my experience is I had to wait until actually when the whole application process was done before I could contact the school to get feedback on my application. Luckily, I had gotten in that cycle, so the schools that denied me, I just didn't bother because it's like I'm already in school, so why even do it? But yeah, you can get feedback from schools. Sometimes you might have to really email them a lot to say like, what really went wrong in my application? Why didn't I get in? But they do offer that for some of the schools at least.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome. Michael?
Sorry. Yes. Hi.
Hello.
As for like as for a reason to go to dental school, because obviously like putting like I want to help people or I'm artistic is kind of like part of the reasons, but I with the sentence like for example, it's the greatest expression of my skills with science and with skills with my hand that still qualify within the medical field. Would that be more of a better way to phrase it?
I would say that might be a little too like technical, right? Like
Yeah.
that, I get what you're trying to say, but like the idea is that you want to combine science with like this artistic aspect of yourself. That itself isn't bad. It's more so about what evidence you have sort of to back that up. Like if that's why you want to go to dental school, okay, like what are the ways in which you express your, like your creativity? What are the ways that you help people? What are the ways that you blend those two things?
Oh,
Um,
okay. And that
yeah,
comes from like the volunteer hours or whatever you use for manual dexterity, correct?
exactly. Yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah. I have that much handle, so I just wanted to make sure that I suppose I can phrase it better, but I just wanted to make sure that reasoning was sound. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
yeah. Yes, you're welcome. Is it Natanya?
Yeah, that's great. Hi, thank you so much for this opportunity. So say you are wanting to start an app this cycle, but don't plan, or maybe just things come up and you don't finish. Is that bad? I guess I know that you already got in and everything on the first time, but like I mean, I might think of starting. That's the thing. Like, I don't really know how to navigate that.
I see. Um, I mean, if you started it, so in the portal that you apply through, it's like ADSAS or it's something like that. It's like AAD, whatever. You if you just fill things out, the school won't know unless you actually like pay the fee to submit your application. So if you kind of want to like, I guess if you in theory want to like play around with what the application sort of looks like, this yeah, schools won't really know. Though I would say that you probably don't want to go through the process unless you're really sure that you want to apply because it can be very daunting, especially if you're not ready. So I would only really think about applying if you actually want to apply. If not, go and get some experience, do things that are going to support your application.
For sure. And if you don't mind sharing about what was like the financial range, because you said that you paid for all your applications, how much was that?
Yeah, so when I apply, so I applied to 6 schools with all the supplemental apps and the regular common app thing that you submit. It was like a little over $1,500. So things can rack up, especially if you're doing interviews in person and you have to travel. Things can rack up pretty quickly.
Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. Thank you. Taha?
Oh, hello. I just completely
Hello.
blanked and I forgot my question. You can go ahead and skip me. Just
Oh,
I'll circle back.
okay. No worries. I'll start to answer some of the questions in the chat.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Amanda, do you mind actually advancing to the next slide as well? So for anyone remaining here, I just want to give a quick plug, both to my profile and to the Leland team if you have any questions. I not only do dental admissions, but I also do DAT coaching and tutoring, or even if you have like an undergrad course in any of like the pre-dental courses as well. So please feel free to take a look at my profile or any of the other profiles on Leland. Um, but for now, I will just go through some of the questions in the chat. Someone had a question about stats, and I really didn't want to answer it just because I don't think you need to compare your stats to mine. Uh, Getting back to that whole like Reddit SDN slide, I really want you guys just to focus on your own application and why you want to go to dental school. Um, how do you know what your dream school is? They all start to blend together after I eliminate the definite no's. It's dream school. Dream school is where really you couldn't see yourself anywhere else, right? If that is the school that you would always kind of regret if you got into and didn't go to, that's probably your dream school. There's all types of different considerations, like which school's going to give you the best clinical expertise, which school's like the most financially smart decision for you. But what the dream school came down to for me is like, okay, I got into Harvard. I think I'd probably regret for the rest of my life if I never took that opportunity. So that's got to be my dream school. Did I tour schools before applying? I did tour Penn. So I went to Temple and I'm like a Philly native. So I was familiar with Penn. I toured their dental school before, but it's definitely not something you need to do if you're looking to go to a particular dental school. In fact, I don't even know like how one would like just tour a random school if they weren't like near it or had some affiliation with it. So definitely like a not necessary thing. With the reason, oh, we covered that question. Is wanting to be a general dentist not unique enough? Absolutely not. General dentistry is like the bread and butter of dental school. Most people coming out of dental schools do general dentistry. General dentistry can be a very rewarding career It's like, in fact, a school wants to see you, they want to know that you're okay with becoming a general dentist because there's no guarantee that you're going to do anything else other than general dentistry outside of dental school. And so that would be a perfect enough reason to be considered unique, so long as you have like some other things surrounding your application. What if you covered that? Dream school is Harvard. Yeah, Harvard, I mean, as a dream school, I think I kind of gave some reasons why I thought it was my dream school and how it kind of aligned with my vision of why I wanted to practice dentistry and how I wanted to practice dentistry in the future. I don't have wet lab research, but I'm working with my MPH professor on a secondary analysis. Would that count? Yeah, that would definitely count, especially if you get published. That would definitely help. But again, research, in my experience, wasn't something that was absolutely required. HSDM is a very research-focused school, and I didn't do research prior. But that definitely would be something that you can talk about if you're passionate about it. 6 month to 1 year research you did where you had limited opportunity to do anything or collaborate with existing projects. So, when you're talking about your experiences, just as generally, even if you're not applying to dental school, if you're applying to a job, obviously don't lie, don't say things that you didn't do. But if you had a contribution, talk about your contribution to that project, and don't talk about it in a way that's going to like diminish your contributions. Really like say, yes, this is what I did. And this was the aim of the project, and this is how I contributed. Any contribution is going to be better than no contribution at all. So definitely talk about all of your contributions in any part of your application that you have. Okay. Oh, someone's from Lancaster. That's cool. Shadowing the hospital with a general practice resident count. Yeah, that's absolutely shadowing. And honestly, that's like totally unique shadowing. I didn't do that. I don't even know any people who did general practice shadowing in the hospital. That's really cool. I haven't even done that in dental school yet, so that's cool. First gen. I have a degree in accounting from Drexel. Yep, first gen. Okay. Do you mind sharing your stats? Yeah. Recording. How would you recommend writing activity description? Should we write stories or just explain our job description? So, you definitely want to highlight the key elements of what you did, like what your contribution was. And if it's something a little complicated, like one thing that I did was I went and helped. There was like this club at Temple where we rebuilt houses in Eastern Kentucky. So I had to like provide a 1 sentence blurb of like what that even was and then say my contribution. So I think you have like 150 characters or 150 words or something like that. But you really want to be as concise as possible and straight to the point, in a way that makes sense and that people can understand, especially when admissions people are reading thousands and thousands of applications. You want to be very clear and very direct to the point with what the information you're trying to convey. 2 years ago, passed away. Okay, that's a very specific question. So I'm sorry to hear that, but I will move on to the next one. Dental assisting license. So I didn't have to get licensed to be an assistant, but I did have to get an X-ray license. It's a very state to state sort of requirement. I'm in Massachusetts right now. I think to be an assistant, you do have to have a license and have to have some sort of formal training and coursework or something. So look at your state requirements and see what it is you need to do. Because I can only speak on PA. So what factors did you consider? That's another huge thing that I could talk like another hour about compiling your list of schools you want to apply to. Honestly, location, location, location. You don't want to be in a place that you're miserable at for 4 years. That's just going to be a horrible, horrible experience. And so location's really important. Seeing what the school actually offers, right? If clinical experience is important to you, go to a school that's known for their clinical experience. If you want to do research, go to a more research focused school. Really what it comes down to is understanding the schools that you're applying to, speaking with people that are at those schools, and kind of getting a sense of what it is this school really is about and if that aligns with you. Okay, we are in our last minute. So honestly, if you're still here, thank you so much. I really hope you gained something out of this. And I wish you all the best of luck. Please contact me if you have any questions. If you just want to chat, I'm totally open. I know how stressful this can be, so please, no hesitation. Reach out to me anytime. Thank you, guys.